Imagine opening your eyes tomorrow. No alarm, no emails, no boss waiting for you. No school, no deadlines. You stretch, look at the sky, and ask yourself one simple question. What should I do today? For almost 300,000 years, this wasn't a dream. It was reality. Your ancestors didn't have jobs. They didn't work 9 to 5. They didn't chase promotions. And here's the shocking part. They may have had more free time than you do. That sounds impossible. We've been taught that ancient humans spent every waking moment fighting for survival. But archaeology tells a very different story. A story so surprising that it completely changes how we think about civilization, and maybe even about our own lives. Right now, the average person will spend nearly 90,000 hours working during their lifetime. That's almost 1/3 of your waking existence. Most of us accept this as normal, because that's simply how life works. Right? But for nearly 99% of human history, there were no companies. No salaries, no resumes, no Monday mornings, no retirement plans. So, what did people actually do all day? The answer isn't based on imagination. It's based on decades of archaeological discoveries, anthropology, and scientific research. And what researchers found surprised even them. Because the people we call primitive may have been living lives that many modern people secretly dream about. In 1963, anthropologist Richard B. Lee traveled to the Kalahari Desert to study the Ju-Honski people, one of the last hunter-gatherer societies whose lifestyle closely resembled that of our distant ancestors. Most researchers expected to find a life filled with endless struggle. Instead, they found something completely unexpected. Adults spent only about 15 to 20 hours each week gathering food. That's less than half the working hours of the average modern employee. Read that again. The people living without supermarkets, electricity, or modern technology were often working less than people with all those advantages. And Richard Lee wasn't the only one to discover this. Anthropologists studying the Hadza in Tanzania, the Ashe in Paraguay, and the Martu people of Australia found remarkably similar patterns. Different continents, different climates, different cultures, yet the same conclusion kept appearing. Humans didn't spend every hour fighting to survive. Once food was secured, the rest of the day belonged to them. But here's where the story becomes even more surprising. If ancient humans had so much free time, what did they actually do with it? The answer was hidden underground for thousands of years. Archaeologists discovered another clue. Not in caves, not in tools, but inside ancient skeletons. When scientists compared the bones of hunter-gatherers with the bones of the first farmers, the difference was impossible to ignore. The earliest farmers were often shorter. Their skeletons showed signs of repetitive physical labor. Many suffered from nutritional deficiencies. Their teeth contained far more cavities because grain-heavy diets promoted tooth decay. Hunter-gatherers told a different story. They were generally healthier. Their joints showed less evidence of repetitive strain. Their diets were far more varied. It was almost as if humanity had traded health for civilization. And that raises a disturbing question. If farming made life harder, why did humans ever choose it? To answer that question, archaeologists searched for something that shouldn't exist if early humans spent every waking moment struggling to survive. And they found it. Art. Not simple scratches on stone. Not random marks. Masterpieces. In southern France, deep inside Chauvet Cave, researchers discovered paintings that are more than 30,000 years old. Horses appear to be running. Lions seem ready to leap. Rhinos charge across the cave walls. The artists used perspective, shading, and movement, techniques that still impress people today. Think about what that means. Someone walked deep into a dark cave carrying fire. Then spent hours, maybe even days, painting animals with extraordinary skill. Not to find food, not to defend themselves, not because anyone paid them. They did it because creating beauty mattered. And Chauvet wasn't the only surprise. In Blombos Cave in South Africa, archaeologists uncovered tiny shell beads dating back roughly 100,000 years. Each shell had been carefully pierced by hand. The nearest coastline was many kilometers away. Someone collected those shells, carried them home, then patiently drilled tiny holes through each one, just to make jewelry. Imagine spending an entire afternoon creating something that had no survival value at all. Only because it looked beautiful. Then came another astonishing discovery. In Germany, archaeologists found a 40,000-year-old flute carved from the wing bone of a vulture. It had carefully spaced finger holes. Whoever made it understood rhythm, pitch, music. Long before cities, long before writing, humans were already making songs. These discoveries completely changed the old stereotype of prehistoric people. They weren't simply surviving. They were artists, musicians, storytellers, inventors, people who laughed, created, and dreamed, which raises an even bigger question. If survival wasn't consuming every hour of their day, then what did an ordinary day actually look like? The sun rises, not because an alarm clock tells you to wake up, but because your body is ready. The fire from the night before is still glowing. Someone quietly adds a few pieces of wood. Children are already laughing nearby. A few people share leftover meat, berries, or roasted roots from yesterday's meal. There is no rush. No one checks the time. Because time isn't something you own. It's simply something you experience. As the morning begins, a small group decides to leave camp. Some go hunting. Others gather fruits, nuts, honey, or edible plants. Not everyone goes. There is no manager assigning tasks. People contribute according to their skills, experience, and the group's needs. A skilled tracker follows faint footprints across the ground. Another notices broken branches that everyone else would miss. Every person has a role. Not because of a job title, but because their abilities matter. If the hunt succeeds, the entire community benefits. Food is shared. No one becomes rich while someone else starves. In many hunter-gatherer societies, sharing wasn't considered generosity. It was simply how life worked. Back at camp, others spend their time shaping stone tools, weaving baskets, repairing clothing, or carefully scraping animal hides until they become soft enough to wear. Nobody is racing against a deadline. Quality matters more than speed. When the day's essential tasks are finished, something remarkable happens. The work stops. No overtime, no endless emails, no second shift waiting at home. The afternoon belongs to the people. Some rest beneath the shade of trees. Children invent games with sticks and stones. Friends sit together, laughing over stories everyone has heard 100 times. Others decorate necklaces, carve patterns into wood, or simply watch the clouds drift across the sky. To many modern people, this sounds unproductive. But to our ancestors, this was life. And perhaps the most important work they ever did wasn't hunting. It was something far more human. They invested in each other. If you could visit one of these camps, you might be surprised by what people spend most of their time doing. Talking, laughing, helping one another. Anthropologists have found that in many hunter-gatherer societies, people spend hours every day simply socializing. At first, this seems unnecessary. But in reality, it was one of the most important survival strategies ever developed. Imagine getting injured during a hunt. You can't gather food. You can't chase animals. Your only chance of surviving is the people around you. If they trust you, they feed you. If they respect you, they protect you. If they enjoy your company, they stay by your side. Long before banks, governments, or insurance existed, relationships were your safety net. That's why humans evolved to care so deeply about friendship, belonging, and reputation. Then the sun begins to disappear beyond the horizon. Darkness spreads across the land. A fire is lit. Everyone gathers around its warm glow. And something magical begins to happen. The practical conversations of the day slowly disappear. No one is talking about animal tracks anymore. Instead, someone begins telling a story. Maybe it's about a legendary hunter who outsmarted a lion. Maybe it's about mysterious spirits living in the forest. Maybe it's simply a funny memory that makes everyone laugh. One story becomes another. Children listen with wide eyes. Adults add details. The older generation passes knowledge to the younger without writing a single word. Around those fires, history was remembered, lessons were shared, culture was born. Every myth, every legend, every belief, started with someone saying, "Let me tell you a story." But then, everything changed. About 10,000 years ago, humanity made one decision that would reshape every future generation. A decision that created cities, kings, empires, money, jobs, and the modern world you know today. This leads perfectly into the final chapter, where we'll explore the rise of agriculture, why many historians call it humanity's biggest turning point, and end with a thought-provoking conclusion that encourages viewers to reflect and comment. Around 10,000 years ago, in a region historians call the Fertile Crescent, humans discovered something that would change history forever. Seeds could be planted. Animals could be domesticated. For the first time, food didn't have to be found. It could be grown. At first, it seemed like the greatest invention humanity had ever made. More food meant more people. More people meant bigger villages. Then came towns, cities, kingdoms, empires. Civilization was born. But every great invention has a price. Farming demanded constant work. Fields had to be cleared. Seeds planted. Crops protected. Harvests stored. Year after year, the work never stopped. Unlike hunting and gathering, there was no freedom to simply take a day off. The land always needed attention. As populations exploded, societies became more complex. Some people became blacksmiths, others became merchants, soldiers, priests, builders. Eventually, people no longer worked for themselves. They worked for someone else. For food, for money, for survival. The idea of a job had arrived. And with it, schedules, deadlines, taxes, and a life measured by the clock. Today, the average person spends nearly 90,000 hours working. Your ancestors probably spent far fewer hours securing what they needed to live. They created art because they had time. They told stories because they valued connection. They measured wealth by relationships, not possessions. This doesn't mean ancient life was perfect. It wasn't. There was disease, injuries, dangerous animals, harsh winters. Life could be brutally difficult. Modern civilization has brought incredible advances: medicine, sanitation, technology, education, and dramatically lower infant mortality. But perhaps, in solving many old problems, we created entirely new ones. Stress, burnout, loneliness, a feeling that we're always running, yet never arriving. Maybe the real lesson isn't that we should abandon modern life. That's neither realistic nor desirable. Maybe it's that the human brain was shaped for a world with more conversation, more creativity, more community, and more moments where doing nothing wasn't considered wasting time. Because for most of human history, simply being alive was enough. So the next time you feel guilty for slowing down, for spending time with people you love, for creating something with no purpose other than joy, remember this: you may not be escaping your human nature. You may be returning to it. If you could live one day exactly like your hunter-gatherer ancestors, would you? Let me know your answer in the comments. And if you enjoyed this journey into humanity's forgotten past, don't forget to subscribe for more stories that change the way you see the world. This version has a much stronger balance.